How to determine which of the many MMORPG is the best? Is this the one where you have to throw fire at demons and cut them to pieces with a blazing sword? Or one in which space mining trucks scurry among countless stars and the swift shadows of fighters flicker? Let's figure it out. Neverwinter came as a surprise to many. The developers took the popular board game Dungeons & Dragons with its locations, classes, spells, skills, and turned it into one of the best MMORPG. Not sure how they did it, but it works. Probably, it's all about love for the original source, because many of the tasks here make you feel like you are at a table with a map and dice. Since the launch of the game, many free add-ons have seen the light of day, including even new races and classes, and players have been able to leave the walls of the legendary city and go, for example, to Icewind Dale, where barbarians and terrible cold will not be the most important problems. For the most part, this is a linear MMO. However, if you suddenly deal with all the official content, there are whole mountains of player-created quests waiting for you, among which there are sometimes real diamonds. Missing Star Trek. Star Trek Online can make it easier for you to wait for the release of Discovery. Each quest in this MMO is like an episode of a series, and each series of missions is a whole storyline, supplemented by periodic episodes just for beauty. Fly to Riza, visit Deep Space Nine, land on planets and practice diplomacy or fight in space battles against the Cardassians, Romulans, Borg, and all the rest who do various lewd things. Battles in space take place in real time, but require tactical thinking, and the key to victory is choosing the right ship position for the most effective use of weapons. And if you fight on foot, the game turns into a third-person squad-based shooter with a variety of abilities. Despite a not-so-great start, STO has grown into a massive, fun, and free-to-play MMO, often expanded with major updates that add new storylines to the game, such as the recent introduction of the Romulan neutral faction with unique missions and ships. As for the ships, they are what make this game different from other MMO. Here you do not just upgrade the hero and select equipment for him. You have to manage the whole crew and ship with the possibility of customization. Rift was the first in a new wave of MMO in the early 2010s and proved to be the most enduring of them all. And not only because it has retained its main advantages, spontaneous events that bring together large groups of players to resist the invasion and a class system with the widest possible customization, but also thanks to constant development over the past few years, which has turned it into one of the best MMORPG. The game is still updated with seasonal events, filled with delights such as a Mummy Corby companion for Halloween. Blade and Soul, a Korean fantasy martial arts MMORPG that should pique your interest in and of itself. But at the same time, the game also has a rich, well-developed world, unique races, and a dozen interesting classes. Whichever of the masters you play, the local combat system will bring only joy. The essence of the fight is swift counterattacks and devastating combos designed to knock the spirit out of the enemy. And it doesn't matter if it's a hostile player or a fat boss in the dungeon. Recently beloved by many, Blade and Soul switched to the new Unreal Engine 4 game engine. The game received improved optimization and even more realistic graphics, and also acquired a new class. At one time, Phantasy Star Online 2 was very popular in Japan, and for a long time remained an exclusive MMORPG for the Land of the Rising Sun, but recently, as part of the new Genesis chapter, a game client localized into English has appeared without regional restrictions. The project is a futuristic action game in which players make cooperative raids to clear locations and fight gigantic bosses. PSO2 has a very friendly class system and a lot of content, as well as no PvP at all. Wild Terra 2: New Lands, sequel to the Wild Terra multiplayer sandbox with new mechanics and biomes to explore, as well as an advanced crafting system that allows players to create unique and sought-after artisans. The game is inspired by hardcore and old-school MMO, whereby the user communities are responsible for the entire economy and development in the unknown continents. Guild Wars 2. While World of Warcraft serves as a traditional MMO, Guild Wars 2 takes the opposite pole of the genre. The game is made as if its developers were trying to bring to mind all the unsuccessful features of other MMO. All the mechanics that dead competitors broke their teeth about. Oddly enough, GW2 succeeded in this and rightfully deserved the title of one of the best MMORPG. There are few ordinary quests in it. Instead, players united take part in events, sort mini-plots, the development of which depends on the actions of the participants. This forces gamers to cooperate and influence a particular region, such as temporarily reducing the threat of roaming groups of monsters. Content for max-level players is constantly evolving with occasional updates to living worlds. But if you're not up to the challenge yet, you won't have to spend a dime on adventures for lower levels, as the base game is now completely free. New World. Amazon's ambitious MMORPG tells the tale of lost islands that lure adventurers into wealth and glory. As a result, unlucky travelers become hostages of otherworldly filth that devastates the New World. In search of salvation, they unite in alliances, each of which adheres to its own ideology. New World will delight users not only with a modern picture with luxurious landscapes, but with superbly developed mining and crafting systems, as well as PvE orientation, clearing dungeons, storming forts, PvE tasks with PvP mode enabled. Archeage. It's a fairly traditional MMO with quests, factions, and a completely passable story. But what makes it stand out is the ability to leave it all aside and go to sea. The ocean is just huge. Just to sail from its eastern edge to its western edge on the fastest ship in the game will take from 4 to 5 minutes to an hour, depending on the dangers encountered, such as storms, whirlpools, sea monsters, and pirates. In the waters of the Northern Ocean, you can even find the legendary Kraken, on which you will have to collect a raid of 40 people and a dozen galleons, up to the crow's nests, clawed with cannons. And on the ocean floor you will find the wrecks of sunken ships, in whose wreckage hidden treasures are hidden. And be aware that you may need special equipment. Archeage is free to play with the option to purchase a premium subscription that provides a number of useful features, including the purchase of your own plot of land, permanent, occupying real space in the open world, on which you can build your house, or even an underwater aqua farm rich in fish. Alternatively, there's Archeage Unchained, a new standalone version of the game that gives you access to all the perks of a subscription for a one-time fee. Regardless of which version of the game you choose, the fantasy world of Archeage is the perfect setting to feel like a sea robber, a pirate among unsuspecting sailors. Only instead of a parrot, you will have a dragon. Final Fantasy XIV. This game has an interesting history. The launch of Final Fantasy XIV was not the most successful. What can I say? It was terrible, and Square Enix had to take urgent measures. Disband the old team, hire a new one, and completely read the game. The result is a realm reborn, and she turned out great. If you are a fan of the Final Fantasy series, then you will definitely like Eorzea. It has everything that the franchise loves for: an epic storyline with a clash of good and evil, diverse and painfully beautiful locations, great characters, colorful cutscenes, and an abyss of chocobos. And it is also quite deeply thought out. A flexible class system is available to players. Once a character reaches level 10, they can switch to any of the 8 combat classes by simply changing weapons. The point is that players don't need to multiply alts to try out all possible roles. Skyforge ranks among the best for its combination of a unique class system, great first hours of play, and an amazing world. The game encourages experimentation by giving the player the ability to switch between all the classes available to them, which can drastically change the style of the game in an instant without having to spend dozens of hours pumping the alt. At the same time, she proudly demonstrates one of the most fascinating gaming worlds, a sort of fusion of epic fantasy and sci-fi. The first hours of the game are very diverse and interesting. There are several paths to complete tasks, and rewards allow you to choose your style of play. Skyforge regularly switches between locations for story-based solo play in spacious areas where you will meet other players. Of course, team challenges are more difficult, but the reward for them is higher. And although they are determined by your prestige value, you are unlikely to have nothing to do and certainly not have to deal with the same grind. Terra. Despite being one of the oldest MMO on our list, Terra continues to add new content year after year. Poof received a lot of updates, the pinnacle of which was Skywatch, Aerial Island, where players got the opportunity to get to the previously inaccessible island of Exoter floating in the skies. The game is complemented by new dungeons, quests, and collectible cards with bonuses. So the fantasy MMO, released in 2012, still has a couple of tricks up its sleeve. The Elder Scrolls Online. Despite a not too favorable start, TISO has managed to establish itself among the best MMORPG for PC. In fact, the Elder Scrolls games have always been the true titans of the RPG genre, and fans have been dreaming of adding multiplayer for adventuring with friends for years. Well, their dreams have come true. The game takes place 1,000 years before the events of Skyrim and 800 years before Morrowind and Oblivion. The player traditionally begins their adventure as a prisoner who, after escaping from prison, is free to travel to any place in Tamriel where they can fight monsters, search dungeons, and create weapons to fit their hand, alone or with friends. With additions that expand the game world with new regions such as Murkmire, Somerset, Elsewhere, and Skyrim, not to mention the many DLC planned for the future. The Elder Scrolls Online universe is constantly expanding, and the MMO in it always remains fresh and new. Runescape, like World of Warcraft, has long been considered one of the pillars of the MMORPG genre. At the same time, completely ignoring its venerable age, the game continues to grow in players and content. Almost every week, new quests and events appear in it, so even veterans will find something to do in it. What can we say about newcomers who have access to content that has accumulated over a good 10 years? And don't worry about getting bogged down in the mechanics and lore of Runescape. The game's community is rightfully considered one of the friendliest and most responsive in the entire gaming world. And she herself boasts not only a rich history, but also major additions, a mobile version, and endless spin-offs. And the studio JJX clearly does not intend to stop there. Lord of the Rings Online. Anyone willing to argue that Tolkien's Middle-earth is the perfect setting for an MMO? Great characters, huge world, and everyone is always fighting. Playable races make good guys, that is, humans, elves, dwarves, and hobbits. Having chosen one to your taste and having decided on the class, you will begin your adventure, which takes place quite close to the path of the famous Brotherhood. Meet Ents, wander Moria, and even ride Rohan on horseback. Additions push the plot forward, following the books, and each new important layer of the plot brings new mechanics to the game, just like mounted combat was added at one time. If you have ever dreamed of visiting Middle-earth, then Latra will give you the closest opportunity to this. And best of all, it's free. Star Wars: The Old Republic. A galaxy far, far away, which is not surprising, has become a great setting for a wonderful MMO that came out of the walls, which is also not surprising, BioWare. The player has access to 8 classes, divided between the Empire and the Republic. Each of them has a detailed and dramatic story, and they are all good, which is already surprising. You can choose the role of an Imperial agent who calculates terrorists for the good of the Empire, or become a Jedi Knight sworn to exterminate the Sith and protect the peace of the galaxy. What about a Sith Inquisitor playing a dangerous political game? You can play any of them, and as a subscriber of the game, you will gain levels faster, which will allow you to focus on the plot, skipping useless and uninteresting quests. Periodic additions keep the community interested in the game, but what you should definitely look out for is Knights of the Fallen Empire. With a masterfully woven web of intrigue, relationships, and dependency on the player's decisions, it feels more like a sequel to Knight of the Old Republic than another MMORPG expansion. Secret World Legends. What if all the myths, legends, and conspiracy theories are not actually fiction? SWL asks exactly this question. The modern world of this action-packed MMO is filled with cults, zombies, ghosts, demons, and supernatural nightmares. Secret World Legends epitomizes the path that MMO could have taken but turned away. A path in which quests mean more than a source of equipment and experience. They try to tell interesting stories, make the players turn on the brain. Quests in SWL are more like riddles that you will Google for answers in real life, rather than simple kill and fetch directions. Once known as the Secret World, this daring game has been reborn as the free-to-play Secret World Legends, and is definitely worth checking out if you don't mind a slightly different take on an MMO. EVE Online. Chances are good that you have already heard stories from New Eden in one form or another. Calculating betrayals, mining, trading, more betrayals, and more miners abound in EVE Online. and sometimes you can find yourself in the thick of a space battle for a good 1,000 participants. With developer Studio CCP proven approach, New Eden has evolved into a player-driven universe. Wars lasting weeks and even months. Years of planning and sabotage to bring down an enemy corporation. Reports of colossal losses in ships and cargo, the amounts of which reach thousands of real dollars. As you might guess, this is not the easiest game to learn, but nothing is impossible in the world. World of Warcraft. Despite its age, the game was released in 2004. World of Warcraft continues to hold the throne of the most popular MMORPG in the world. During her reign, she has changed a lot, acquired new classes, races, tightened the graphics, got new continents, players got the opportunity to travel to the past. The game is so huge that if you run it fast to the maximum level, you will definitely miss out on a lot of great story quests. Sometimes WoW looks too traditional, but do not forget that it was this game that largely determined the modern MMORPG genre. To be continued. If your favorite game is not included in this list, write in the comments. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel, watch our other videos, press like, turn on notifications, and you will always be aware of what to play today.